All right, this music is just, it is good. So we can go ahead and get started. It's 5 after the hour. We had some really calming background music to get us into this, and now we'll go ahead and start. So we can go to that next slide. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Developer Workshop. In this series, we'll be talking, or in this session, we'll be talking about the video SDK. Before we go ahead and dive in, we have an icebreaker just to preview what we'll be talking about today. So, you all can go ahead and think about it. And once you have an answer, in the chat, tell us what your favorite childhood video game or board game was growing up. So while you all are thinking of an answer, I'll go ahead and share mine. If you haven't heard of it, do yourself a favor, find it, play it. Kingdom Hearts, the whole series was my favorite video game to play growing up. A close second was Crash Bandicoot, but Kingdom Hearts, the storyline, it was absolutely fantastic. So that was my favorite. Anyone else, feel free to share. And Akansh, what was yours if you want to share with us?
Um, I love playing Crash Bandicoot as well. I picked it up much later in life, like on an emulator instead of actually on a console, because we didn't have those here. But recently, I've played God of War Ragnarok, and I had a lot of fun just going through the entire journey.
Very nice, very cool. And then I see someone has mentioned that chat is disabled. So let me go ahead and see what we can do to go ahead to fix that up. If you all have access to reactions, could you just give me a let me see.
I think they should have access now.
Yeah, if you have okay to chat.
I hope so.
Okay.
Yes.
If someone wouldn't mind just sending something in the chat, making sure it is to everyone, just so we can perfect double check that there's access. Thank you, Mike. All right, so we'll take a minute, another minute or so, and if you want to share your favorite video game or board game if you didn't play growing up, go ahead and feel free to type that into the chat. Thank you. Perfect. Had Kingdom Hearts with me, God of Ragnarok for a contra, right? Is that it?
God of War Ragnarok, yes.
Okay, God of War Ragnarok. There we go. There we go. I'm a little biased. I don't know. I'll play that one if you play Kingdom Hearts.
Deal. We have a deal.
There we go. There we go. Not a video game, a board game. And then we'll go ahead, continue to share if you think about it as we go. Cuber. Okay, nice. I will admit I have not heard of that. I will be quick to Google it after we finish this workshop. Hi, Beth. Thank you for joining us. You're right on time. So just taking a second to break the ice and discuss our favorite games growing up. Feel free to share even as we continue, but we will go ahead and move on now talking about, before our agenda, let's introduce ourselves. So my name is Rahima Amor, and I'm a developer advocate engineer here at Zoom with a focus on the video SDK. So creating different pieces of content like videos, blogs, etc., to help you all with your adaptation and integration of the video SDK into your own applications and products. And now I'll pass it on to Akansh.
Thanks, Rima. I'm Ekansh. I'm also a developer advocate engineer at Zoom, working alongside Rahima on the video SDK, working on documentation, the product, making it easy for you to add video to your websites, your applications on different platforms. So if you have any questions, either throughout the workshop or after, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to help.
Nice. All right, so now let's go over our agenda for the day. We're going to start off by talking about the UI toolkit for Video SDK Web. Then after that, once we talk about what it is and introduce it, we're going to introduce our project that we'll be working on today. So we teased it a little bit in our icebreaker, but we'll give you a full out introduction as to what it is. Then we're going to go over code integration. Akansh is going to walk through what that looks like. Next, he'll do a demo of our project. And after the demo, we're going to talk about different use cases for the video SDK. Once we wrap up, we'll have some time for questions and answers at the end. And again, want to encourage you, know that you'll have time for questions at the end. If you have any burning questions that need to be answered during, go ahead and use the chat or the Q&A feature. All right, now moving on from our agenda, let's go ahead and look at our objectives for today. The first objective is we want you all to leave with an understanding of what the UI toolkit is and when you might use it. Next, we want you all to gain an understanding on how you can integrate the video SDK features into your very own application. Now, let's go ahead and start off by talking about the video SDK UI toolkit. So as I mentioned before, the Video SDK UI toolkit is for the web platform. We are rolling it out on different platforms as well. So if you check out our documentation, you can see where it's available. And this is a pre-built video chat user interface powered by the Video SDK. So if you've worked with the Video SDK before, you know that manual configuration is necessary to implement each feature into your application. While the customization that comes with this is necessary for some instances, other instances only require straightforward and easy integration. The UI toolkit is, like I said, a pre-built interface that makes this possible. It allows users to integrate this code almost instantaneously. You can configure different features of the UI toolkit to align with your user performances or preferences. So for instance, if you want an audio experience, you can integrate and use the audio feature. If you wanted video and audio for a telehealth or a virtual appointment, you could integrate the video and audio feature. And if you wanted to screen share and use audio for document preview, you can implement screen sharing and audio. So the point that's being made here is that you can pick and choose which features you want to use. Integration is easy and seamless with a built-in UI and UX experience. It's a low-code option to accelerate development. Now, if we move on to our next slide, we'll see some of the features that are currently available for the UI toolkit. So as I mentioned before, screen sharing, video, audio. You can also view which users are participating in your session. You have the option to do live chat sessions. You can view settings such as virtual background, configuring your audio and video. You can do a preview session before you join your actual session. And new features are being added continuously. So again, be sure to look at our documentation to see what's available and what's new. Now, if you need help kind of associating or understanding when you would use manual configuration over the UI toolkit, for me, what I like to do is associate manual configuration with complete customization. So I can customize how a feature will appear, how I might use it, etc. And when I think of the UI toolkit, I'm thinking of low code, easy and efficient integration with built-in UI and UX. So that is a preview into what our UI toolkit is. If we go ahead and move on to our next slide, I'm going to pass it over to Akanj, who is going to introduce our exciting project for today.
Awesome. Thanks, Rahima. So we thought of this workshop for quite a bit. I saw this tweet early Feb or mid Feb, and I was just blown away by the implementation of the entirety of Mario Kart in just JavaScript with React 3 Fiber. And I'm a huge fan of the game. I am a huge fan of React and all the cool things that the team is doing at React 3 Fiber. And I was quick to respond that, hey, if you've made a multiplayer game, it's probably best to be able to chat with other people that you're playing the game with. And I think it took me like an hour or so to use the UI toolkit and add like video capabilities to the game. And that's what we're trying to do today. We're going to walk through just clone the project, start from extremely basic foundations, have no like prerequisites, so to speak, and go from scratch or go from 0 to 100 on something like this, where you can join the game from different devices or different people can join the game and be able to speak to each other, view each other's video, and play together. So hopefully, awesome. I see a lot of people excited about this. Cool. So first of all, huge shout out to the author for putting this together. There's the GitHub repo linked both in the resource section and on the slide. So if you want to check out the project, please do go give it a star. It runs entirely in your browser. So that's awesome. You don't have to download anything. And it's multiplayer, so we'll be able to add video and just use a lot of the multiplayer logic that the game already provides us with. Before we actually start coding it out, I want to give you basic instructions on how the UI toolkit works. So just line by line showing you what the integration looks like, and then we'll adapt it to work with the application. So all you have to do is install this package from the Zoom namespace. You can import it with the UI toolkit name. In your React application or any other application, we're using React for this demo since that's what the game uses. Define a function or define a component. Inside that, we'll create a function called start call, which will be triggered to start the call or start the video session. So with the video SDK in Zoom, you have something called topics, which are like your video session names. So we can create a topic about Mario Kart, and all the people joining the same topic will be talk to each other. So think of it like a video room. We need tokens that are associated with a single topic. So people with the same token for the same topic will be authorized to access that session, and they won't be able to like go to a different session and talk to a different set of users. So your tokens are isolated to a single session name, and that's sort of how we separate different users with different rooms. And you can have as many rooms as you like, or as many sessions as you like going on at the same time. Finally, you have a container where you want to render the UI toolkit. So in our case, we've created a session container and stored that reference. Finally, once you have these things, you can call the join session method on the UI toolkit, passing it the container and an object. The object is basically your way of configuring what features you want. That's something Rahima talked about a little bit before. So it takes in a few options like the token that I mentioned, the topic name or the session name, your username, so I can pass in Ekansh. It also takes in an array of features. So in our case, we'll use audio and video, but you can just add chat or screen sharing or preview or settings. All of those features are pre-built. And that's pretty much all you need. So we can call the start call function wherever we want to initiate the call, and we have our session container be rendered in our function, and that's all we need to do. So let's go ahead and start building it out. So I'm going to open a co-editor, just walk through all the steps you need, and if at any point you have any questions, please feel free to reach out in the chat, and Rahima can let me know that, hey, please stop and answer or explain something again. So if you want to follow along, please do. I'll try to go slow, but if there's any questions or confusions on what I'm doing, please let me know and we can go through it together. So I'm going to escape out of that.
And while you're
Uh,
pulling it up a conch, I'll just do a quick caveat. It was on the screen, but for those of you, if anyone does decide to follow along, just want to make the preface, a basic understanding of React, your command line, those are required. And then as we go along, like a conch said, ask any questions that you have. If you don't want to follow along now, the completed project is available on that GitHub repository in the resource tab.
Awesome. I'll try to explain everything that I'm doing, but if there's something that's not clear, please let me know. So the first step is I'm going to go to this repository, which we've linked, and clone this to a folder of my choice. So I've called it workshop demo. I'm typing in git clone repo name, and it'll copy all the project files and put it on my desktop. So that'll take a second. Now that's done, I can go to the project directory that I created. And just to show you, I have all of these files. Awesome. So what we can do now is we can install all the dependencies, and I'll also install the Zoom Video SDK UI toolkit. Just to show you what that looks like, this is the Video SDK UI toolkit page, and we have all the instructions here. So I'm taking this command and just using the package manager of my choice, which is bun, since it's much faster than npm, and no one likes waiting on install screens. So we have all the packages installed. Up next, we need to import these things in our code. So I'm going to open up this project in VS Code and maximize that for you. And let me know if this is visible or if you want to increase the font size a bit. I'm going to get rid of that. Don't need this anymore as well. And I'm also going to delete all the unused imports. So just we're starting from a fresh canvas, so to speak. So taking a look at this React project, the entry point is app.jsx, which I've opened up here. And let's just walk through what's really happening here and how we could add video call to it. So I'm going to start the project with bundev, open it up in a new tab, and we see the games working nice and well. And I'm using my keyboard to walk around, and I can drive the cart, which is great. And we can open this same link in a different browser. I'm gonna tile that so that we have both of them on the same page. And hopefully, if all goes well, we'll see two carts at the same time. So
Oh,
those are two players playing together, and there's not much you can tell in terms of who these people are. So we'll add their faces with Zoom's video SDK. Awesome. So that worked out well. I'm gonna close that out for now, or I can have that open and go to my code base. So let's see where the game is getting triggered or game is getting started, and there maybe we can reuse some of that to start the call. So it's nice to see that they've already labeled a start function, which does a few things which we don't really need to care about. But we notice that it's called in a use effect, and we can basically use this start function to call in the start call function that we looked at before. So let's maybe start by defining a start call function for our UI toolkit. And I'm going to use some of the auto-generated code to just move faster. But I'll try to explain what I'm doing. So I am going to go back to our documentation and see what we need to do. So like I showed you before, we need to import these things. So we do that here, save, go back and see what we need. So it talks about creating a config object, which I talked about before. So I'm going to copy all of that. And let's define that maybe here. Or let's maybe go here and say config equals this. So we need a token, which I'll leave out for now. We need a session name, which again, we'll get to in a bit. We need the username. We don't need the passcode for this demo, so I'm going to remove that. Video and audio is all we need, so get rid of everything else. Don't need options, don't need virtual backgrounds, but those are as simple as adding three lines to your code base. So cool. Let's maybe figure out how we'll have these three values next. Um, so you'll notice in our demo, in the address bar, we have this 5-digit string. And this is sort of what tells the game which people to associate together. So this is like our session name. So I'm going to try to reuse this for both the video game session, but also the Zoom video session. So the way I can do this is I can do const session name equals new URL and give it window dot location dot href. And since that's a hash, I'll take the hash part of it and replace the first few things. So that's hash, that's r equals after the hash. So I'll replace that with an empty string. And just to make sure we got that right, I will log that out for you and we can look at it together. I'm gonna comment this out for now and just make sure we are getting this called. So let's maybe move this here and also move this here. So it's nice and like it's nicely labeled inside the function that we need. And what we can do here is we can just add in the start call function. So I'm gonna maybe go here, await start call. And since this isn't async, so I will mark this function as async. Do that here. Save. Hopefully that should get rid of any errors. Go to our console and we should see the session name. So session name and this value. Awesome. We don't need the hash, so I'm going to replace that as well. So always good to console log and make sure we're doing things correctly. So next, the config, and now that we have the session name, we can pass that here. We need access to the username, so I'm going to take in a name, or let's call it username. And hopefully at some point we'll be able to get this, but the way I will do that is there's something called the application state or the game state. So I am wondering if there's something I can access here. So it says get profile, and profile probably has a name. And once I pass this start call function a name, I can reference that here, and I have my username as well. So the only thing we have left is JWT. So I'm going to say const token equals await, and we'll define a get token function in just a second. Uh, and this will obviously take in the session name, but we'll define this. Define soon. And we can pass in the token, and hopefully we have everything we need. So now I can finally call the UI toolkit.join session method. This needs a container, so let's define that. Get element by ID, and I'll call it session container, which again we have to define. So we'll do that in a second and pass in the config. So let's take this session container and add that to the end of our like DOM representation. And one thing that we need to make sure is also just making sure we're any questions so far? Good. Okay, cool. Hopefully I'm not going too fast, but please let me know. So one thing that we want to make sure is we render this Zoom container on top of our game so that it's visible and it's not obstructed by other things in the UI. So I'm going to give it a Z index of, let's say, 100, which puts it on top of everything else. Position absolute, top 0, and I'll make this be displayed on the right side. And we'll give it some fixed values for width and height. So let's say maybe 200 and let's say about 850 pixels, and save that. So we have the session container that's being referenced in our join session method to get access to render the UI toolkit. And the only thing we need is to define this get token function now. Let me make sure we have everything else. This looks good to me. One quick thing, since I've noticed that this has been called in a use effect, is just to make sure we're not wasting render cycles, we can define in call ref and import that from React here. And what this will let us do is I can start that as false, so we're not in a call or not in a session. And we can basically say that if this use effect is called, if you're already in a session, like don't do anything. So the way we can define that is I can say if in call ref.current, and yeah, so AI is helpful and figures out what we need to do. All right, so let's maybe define the get token function now. So I'm going to go out of my React component since this isn't to do with the render cycle. We'll define a function that takes in the session name, and I'm going to remove all of that code for now. So before I describe this function, I'm going to show you what we have prepared for you here. So the UI toolkit needs tokens. What's nice about this demo is we already have a auth endpoint sample. So what you can do is you can clone this repo, add in your video SDK credentials, and run this. And this will give you a local server which is ready to create JWTs for you. Or if you're lazy like me, you can click on this deploy on Railway button. Make sure you log in with GitHub or any other providers, and click on this deploy now button. And this gives you an option to add in your credentials here. I'm not going to do that right now so that I don't leak my SDK credentials, but I have done that already. And this is the screen that you would see. So I'm going to copy the deployed link, and this is going to help me generate tokens. So going back to my project, I can do const res equals await fetch, give it that URL, make sure we add in HTTPS since that's a different URL from my local server. And this needs a few things. So method needs to be post. We can pass it in the JSON header, and we'll give it a body of session name and role. In our case, we can just pass in one, which means that everyone's a host. So that's fine for this demo, but you can pass people different privileges like hosts and attendees and so on. Once we have that response from the server, first of all, let's log that out. And then we can get the data as JSON, and we expect to get a signature, and we can return that signature. So I'm going to also log that out so that we know what's going on. That looks good. Save. And hopefully, if we've done everything correctly, let me just start the dev server again for good measure. Go here, hit refresh. Is our server running? I think it's telling us that something's wrong. So we've redefined config somewhere. Let's quickly fix that. AI is helpful, but AI is also annoying when it doesn't correctly predict things. Save that, and hopefully this time we don't get errors, which we don't. We got the session name. I think the server's down, so I'm going to refresh it one more time. We got the data.signature, so this is what our JWT looks like. The UI kit is being rendered. We'll have to fix the styling, but you see here it's telling you that, hey, shared array buffer is disabled, so you're limited to a subset of features. We can patch that. We can tell you how to patch that after the workshop, but for now, this is good. I'm going to unmute my video, and you can see me in the game. So let's quickly patch in the styling. So make sure that's pixels and pixels. I think that's what's wrong. Awesome. So enable audio, unmute myself, create a new tab, tile them here. So let's imagine this is someone else joining in with the same URL. I don't have friends right now, but this shall do.
You just gotta race yourself sometimes.
So unmute
Playing
myself
yourself,
here.
playing yourself in a game of chess.
And if everything goes well, again, we have screen, we have the game working, we have the videos working, two people playing together, and that's all you need to do. So I hope that was simple to understand. And again, if you have any questions on how these things work, anything we can help you with, please let us know. But hopefully that demonstrates how happy we are with the UI toolkit and how quickly you can add video to any application that you put.
Now, Akansh, I am gonna hit you with a surprise question. In
Yes.
with your estimation, how many more lines of code do you think it would have been if we had done manual configuration to integrate this into the app, not using the UI toolkit?
A few hundred, since when you're describing things with the video SDK, you have so much flexibility in exactly how you want to build things. You have to describe everything in detail in terms of like, hey, here's what happens when a person joins the call. Should we send them directly to your screen? Should we hold them
Mhm.
off? Should we selectively subscribe to different people? You have all of that flexibility, but sometimes you just want to get video on screen, and this is a great way to do that.
Yes, I agree. So definitely just wanted to ask you that just to highlight how much easier it was. Akansh, I mean, it's always a pleasure watching you live code, but just how much easier it was to accomplish this with the UI toolkit. So that was amazing. Thank you so much, Akansh. It looks like you were losing to yourself, but hopefully, hopefully you win later on. So now we'll go ahead and jump back into our slideshow and continue the presentation. So that was just one example of how we could use the UI, not even just the UI toolkit, but the video SDK for a wide array of different projects, right? So if we go ahead to our next slide, we're going to take a look at some different other use cases that exist when working with the video SDK, be it manual configuration or with the UI toolkit. So like we just saw, we can add video calls to your application. So you can can create a video conferencing application. You can create something to accomplish virtual appointments, right? Akansh and I have actually built a telehealth application where we do just that. You can also just add in video to your apps, like we just saw, right? So Akansh wasn't necessarily on any kind of conference call with anyone, but he was able to inject his video into a video game, which I think is amazing. Would have preferred if the game was Kingdom Hearts, but I'll get over it eventually. You can also customize live streaming, right? So if you wanted to live stream a class you were teaching or a presentation, you can allow users to choose the shape of their canvas. So for instance, right now you'll see myself and Akansh, we're in little rectangles, but if we wanted to, we could customize that and allow people to choose a triangle or a star or a circle, right? We actually do have an example from a few years ago at Zoomtopia where some clients, external clients, actually use a video SDK to create what they call bubbles and allow different users to join in circles, and they kind of just bounced around the room. So it was really cool and accomplished with the video SDK. You can also integrate the camera feature for motion tracking applications. So think of if you have a Ring doorbell or anything like that, you could even use the video SDK to accomplish something similar, right? So using that camera to track and update on any motion that comes through. You can create a custom command channel. You could do exam proctoring if you needed to watch some people take an exam virtually. And you can even just integrate the chat interface. So if you didn't want video or audio, but just a live back-to-back chat channel open, you could also do that using the video SDK with the number of features it has available. So these are just some different use cases. It's really exciting for us to see what you all come up with and what you build. Like I said, we had the bubbles, we've had telehealth applications built. We even had some of our coworkers create and manipulate a claw machine. And I will find that link before we end and share that blog with you all. But they were able to manipulate a claw machine using the video SDK. So there's just a wide number of possibilities. And we want you to keep that in mind when using this product. So now we're going to go ahead and wrap up the presentation and allow you all space for any questions and questions you have, and we'll provide the answers. If you all have any questions that go beyond this workshop, remember you can find us at devforum.zoom.us, where we're always answering questions and open to walking you through any technical issues or queries you may have. And like Akansh mentioned at the beginning, Akansh or myself, or both of us, look out for the next workshop's registration link. You can learn more about different platform products, and we'll be doing some more about the video SDK. So I just talked for about 2 minutes straight. I will pause and hand it over to you all for any questions you have for Akansh or myself. And while all our brains are working for any questions we have, I am going to pull up this link on the Zoom powered claw machine. So if anyone wants to do some reading on that, they can. And again, while you all are thinking, I actually have a question for you all, just to, jog our brains. One, was this engaging and was this a helpful workshop? And two, what other topics would you all like to see us cover on these kind of live interactive workshops, or just in general when it comes to the video SDK?